Hi everyone, Burak Ozgur here, and I'm really excited to present to you the final game from the 2026 Catan Americas Championship. So yeah, you've got the exclusive footage here of the entire game I'm about to present to you and just kind of narrate throughout the game. And it's really exciting because there's a lot of great strategy here from all the players, and what it represents is the culmination of this championship series from 28 players from North, Central, and South America. These are all champions from their countries, and they're all battling it out for the sole champion. And so this final game is comprised of the 4 winners from the semifinals. And my table, I happen to have won, and that was between representatives from Chile, from Mexico, myself, and one of the legends of Catan, that's Drew Elliott, who is the 2024 U.S. national champ. Going into this game, I'm the 2025 U.S. national champ, and what's ironic is Drew and I had never played together until that last semifinal game leading into this game. So it was a great battle, but I'm proud to have come victorious from that game and now represent the U.S. in this final game. With me at this table are 3 other champs. Felipe, who is a well-known champ from Brazil, and we're in the Brazilian home country, so it's going to be really challenging. Felipe has won the 2023 and 2024 Brazilian championships. He's been to Worlds, and winning this game means a lot because then he would get to Worlds again. Also, we have Gabriel, also from Brazil, and he and Felipe are both in the same league in a group playing in Brazil, which is a large group, and they're very proud and excited to represent their group. And then we also have Augustin, who is a great champ from Argentina, also battling it out. So we have 3 South Americans, which are 2 Brazilians and an Argentinian, against me in representing the United States. So I know it's going to be really tough because they're all great players, and they're also probably going to team up against me because they'd rather have a South American win, especially since we're in South America for this championship. So it's going to be a tough battle. But it'll be a great game nonetheless, and join me now as we watch this game. And I'm starting it in 3, 2, 1. So what's happening right now is, like most boards, we just have it and we just stare at it for a while. And what's happening, all the 4 players are looking at it and trying to decide where they want to go, what order they want to go, what are the resources, what's going to be plentiful, what's going to be scarce, and what they can do with and without. We're also changing colors here. Going into this game, I'm the number 1 seed, so I get to pick the order. And so in staring at this, I decided what seed I want, what color I want, so I'm going to go with white again, and then I'm going to go in the order. Staring at this board, I decide that I'm going to go 3rd. And what it does for me is I identified that I think there are several good starting spots, and what I really want to do is see what other people, what kind of strategy they're going to play, and most importantly, I want to pair up my first spot well with my second spot. So I feel like 3 will give me the best of all those worlds for a good positioning. Now, looking at this board, everybody else is also deciding, are they going 1st, 2nd, or 4th? Because I've already chosen 3rd. We have a judge at the table. We have a banker who's also from the organizers, and a translator. So all this is happening because this is such an important game. This is the final game identifying the champion of the Americas 2026. So looking at the board, there's a pretty good representation of rock. There's a 4, a 5, and a 10. As far as wheat, there is a couple spots that are right next to each other. There's the 4 and the 5, which is adjacent to the 10. And then there's the 2 adjacent to the 5 rock. So the wheat may be a problem here. So in choosing my order, I'm identifying that I need to make sure that I got a good wheat. So I figure first, second, and third will probably get pretty good wheat. So that's why I chose third, because then that's going to give me a good pairing with a second spot. So that's pretty much what I'm thinking. And I feel like no matter which wheat I get, first, second, or third will give me really a pretty good starting spot. So again, that's why I felt like there wasn't a huge advantage to going first or second over third, but third has an advantage over first and second because then the pairing is going to be better. So that's why I chose third. So now everybody's again staring at the board. The first player is going to be green, and then the second will be blue, third will be me, white, and the fourth will be orange. Again, remember that the way it goes is that fourth then will pick not just fourth but fifth as well. So they really have the greatest pairing because they go back to back, and nobody can take that second spot from them. So that's a good advantage as well. So as people are looking at the board, I'm also looking at the players. I'm looking if anyone looks nervous, anxious. I'm looking if there's any side conversations going on between some of the players. I'm looking at what opportunities I may have to strike up a positive relationship so that I can get some positive trades perhaps, because I already know I'm the target here, right? I'm the one American among the three South Americans, and we're on home court advantage for Brazil, and there are two players here from Brazil. So they're probably going to work together, and I bet Argentina is going to work with Brazil as well, again, because they'd probably rather any of the three of them win as opposed to me, the American. So I know it's going to be a tough game for me. So with that mindset, when we talk about different types of strategies, I'm going to be a bit on the defensive because I'm going to be attacked. The robber is going to be placed on me a lot, so I know I'm going to go dev card strategy, go strong into knights to defend myself, and hopefully among the dev card strategy I get other advantageous cards to help me. So that's where I think that's going to be my strongest game here. Also looking at this board, you look at where it could be potential wood port, brick port, road builder. Those are potential plays as well. So I'm looking at where those ports are. The wood port is right next to the strong wood, the 9, the 6, and so I'm sure that's going to be someone's strategy to go towards that wood port. Secondly, if somebody gets the strong brick to pair with the wood, then they'll likely be the the road builder, and they might be going for that brick port as well. So if somebody's able to get the brick port and the wood port and become the road builder, that'll be pretty strong as well. So that's another thing I'm watching for to see who kind of declares themselves. Now, what a lot of people talk about in these high stakes games is balance, like a balanced board. So typically what you want is if you could identify if the table works together, it'd be better if there are two road strategy players and two army or dev card strategy players. So again, it balances out. If there's only one person going for dev cards and knights, or only one person going for road, then that person has the advantage because nobody's chasing them and you don't have to waste resources with additional roads, for example. So that's why some of the conversation that's taken place and that will take place through this game will be balancing the board among those strategies. So the other considerations here are anyone who's going to think about becoming the or wheat sheet person, buying dev cards, going for army and victory points and such. You have to consider the sheep, because the sheep's going to be difficult here. Take a look at, you've got a 3, you've got a 12, you've got another 3, and you've got a 10. So really the only real production here is that 10, but it's right next to the 2 wheat. So we'll keep an eye on if anyone takes that spot or builds towards that 5 rock, 10 sheep, 2 wheat. So that's a consideration because of that sheep. But the other spots are not making strong sheep. So that'll be a concern moving forward for development cards and for settlements. So the spots that are going to be taken early, of course, are going to be that 8 wood, 10 rock, 4 wheat, that 5 wheat, 10 rock, and 9 wood. Probably those 2 spots are taken. Somebody, I'm sure, is considering the 4 wheat, 5 wheat, 10 rock. So that's a consideration to kind of lock up that spot and then to block the adjacent wood spots. However, the problem with that is if you take that spot, the 4 wheat, 5 wheat, 10 rock, and you build towards the coast with a road, there's a good chance you might get blocked if somebody takes one of those coastal spots, the 8 wood, 10 rock, or the 9 wood, 10 rock. All right, so the first player has placed, and it's not what I thought would have been the first spot, but it's a good spot because he's locking up a 5 wheat, 11 wheat, and the 6 brick. So what I'm thinking here is he may be going for a strong wood to pair with that strong brick. So we'll see kind of what develops through this. He could also be going for a rock sheep to pair with that spot for dev cards and then build towards the missing resource. So we'll kind of see how this plays out. Good spot as well. But again, take a look at what's happened here. There's still at least two or 3 really good wheat spots. So I just wanted to make sure that I get a good wheat spot in my first pick. That's why I chose third. But then as going third choice, I'm going to get the 6th choice as well, which will be giving me a good pairing to go with my first settlement. So now blue is deciding where to go, and yes, he takes the 5 wheat, the 10 rock, and the 9 wood, heading towards the coast. That's a great spot because he's probably going to head towards a port. The ports are really important in high-stake game like this because what will end up happening is everybody is a strong player, and eventually it'll get to the point where people are not trading, and so you have to be self-sufficient. So having a port is going to be critical when nobody's trading with you and you got to make trades with the bank. So I always want to make sure I've got access to at least one port, sometimes multiple ports. So I'm choosing now as my third spot, and I already know where I'm going. I'm just kind of delaying it a bit because I'm considering what is going to be the orange's choice, because orange will choose 4th and 5th spots, and then I'll go 6th to pair with my third spot. So that's going to be interesting as I'm again trying to predict what he's going to do, and then of course where blue is going to go and then what green is going to go. So my choice is that 4 wheat, 10 rock, 8 wood. I'm heading towards the coast. I'm really happy with that spot. That would have been my first spot anyways, and as third player, getting to get that spot as my first choice is glorious because that's what I wanted anyways. The reason I like that spot is it gives me a strong wheat, rock, and wood, and I'm heading towards 2 potential ports, either to my left or to my right, and either one is good for me. And I can't get it stolen. See, blue can get that that 3-for-1 port stolen on the 10 rock by my spot, but I have 2 ways to go. I can go to my left or I can go to my right. I don't think people are building towards that other end of the 8 wood, so I don't think anyone's chasing me for that 3-for-1 port. So what I'm going to do here is later in the game, I'm going to negotiate with blue. I don't need to go to that port off of the 10 rock, but I'm going to pretend like I want to go there, and then instead I'm going to make a deal with blue so that if I don't build towards that and I leave it open for him, I'll go towards the right instead. That's what I want to do anyways, but I don't want him to know that. And he, of course, does not want me to take that 3-for-1 port, which would be a good defensive move. But if I can get a good bargain, good trade, something instead, I'll go for it and not make enemies early on. So now orange gets to choose 2 spots, and he's in a good position because he can secure a strong wheat. He could secure the wood towards the wood port or the brick port and pair it with a good brick. So he's in a good spot. I thought the 4th spot is a good choice as well here, because you're going to end up with some good options. So here's where in, again, the high-level games, there's going to be some communication where the 1st and 2nd and 3rd players are going to negotiate with the 4th. And they're going to say, hey, what are you thinking? If you take this, I'll take that. Or I'll leave this open and you leave this open for me. So there's a lot of that talk going on, which is totally fair and totally expected, but none of it is binding, right? So people will make deals, and you can lie, you can follow through with your collaborations. Anything can happen in this game, so you just have to be prepared for that. So they're negotiating sort of these pairings, which again is really important, because what good is a lot of rock if you don't make good wheat or sheep? And also, what good is strong wood if you don't make strong brick, and vice versa? So these are the pairings that are important to consider as you move forward in the game. Again, a huge part that we discussed earlier are the ports, because right next to the strong wood production, that 6 and 9, is the wood port and the brick port. So somebody could potentially get both ports and become really strong. So that's something I'm voicing here as people are talking about who may take what, is not to let somebody get both ports if they are strong in wood and in brick. So that's something seriously to consider. So in these talks, usually I'm not hugely vocal. I'm listening, I'm watching for what's developing in these relationships, in the teams that are developing here, even though it's an individual game. And I'm gonna step in and point out some things sometimes without being overly overbearing, because again, I don't want to irritate people and become a bigger target than I already am.
Okay, so like he decides, we'll say.
So as they're discussing, one of my strategies is, okay, I've got good wheat and rock. I got to make sure I get a sheep. If I could get a second rock spot or a second wheat spot, as well as that sheep, it's going to really be helpful for me, because then if you have 2 rock production spots, it becomes less blockable for your rock production in general. So that's what I'm thinking already, is can I get around that 5 rock? Can I get around the 4 rock to give myself additional production? Because again, I need to buy dev cards, knights, and defend myself. I'm going to get robbed a lot. All right, so orange takes that spot with the 2 wood, that 6, the 9, and the 2 wheat. He's pointing towards the wood port, so he's declaring that he's going to build towards the port via wood port production. And smartly, he's also taken the strong brick, the 6 brick, which will pair very, very nicely. So any 6 that rolls, he gets an automatic road, which is awesome. So that's a good choice. He's weak in wheat, but he can make up for that as soon as he gets the wood port. So it's a good spot. He's got weak wheat and sheep, which will be challenging, but he's going to build quickly to try to get a port so that he can trade, because he'll probably produce a lot of wood and brick, and he's got a decent rock as well in the 4. So good choices here for starting out for orange. And then now I'm choosing my second spot. And again, I already know where I'm going here, but I don't want to make it too quick and obvious for everybody else. And I also want to talk about some negotiations as if I'm still flexible, because I want to get as much information as I can get from the other players. Where are they going? What are their strategies? So what I'm pointing out right here, even though I know exactly where I'm going, is I'm concerned about orange, because if he gets access to not just the wood port but the brick port, then that's going to be really dangerous for the rest of us. So I'm really trying to bring attention to him. So you see how I'm talking about the brick, the rock, like he's surrounding himself, that's orange, with opportunity to get more 6 rock, to get the 6 brick, and to potentially get the 8 brick as well. So I'm really trying to hype that up. I also want to talk blue and green into going after that brick port and not leaving it open for orange. So again, I know where I'm going. I've decided this before. I'm going to the 5 rock, the 10 sheep, and the 2 wheat. And it's again because I'm doubling up on wheat and rock, and I'm taking the best sheep on the board because I'm going to buy a lot of dev cards. I've already made up my mind. So that's what I'm doing. It's a great rock safety because I've got 2 decent rock production spots. And if either of them roll or both, then I'm in pretty good position. And it'll be hard for people to chase me for development card production if I have the best sheep production on the board. I'm going to quickly go for a port as well. I'm going to go for a 3-for-1 port really quick. So then, again, I'm going to be self-sufficient because they're going to stop trading with me as soon as I jump into the lead. So I'm going to keep talking about other people as they're bigger threats than me, because I don't want to let everyone keep focusing on me, even though I'm sure they are. And I'm going to be talking up that wood port and the brick port.
We should be together. I'm right here. This shouldn't be open for you.
So you see how I keep pointing that out. So we're also talking about, again, the balance of the board. We want 2 road players, we want 2 development card players, and orange has already declared that they're going for road production, which is smart, as well as for a port. And so I'm trying to ensure that green is also kind of trying to balance that out. So I want to make sure that he's going for wood production to match his brick production and to build towards that brick port so that orange can't get both ports. Having 2 strong ports is really, really helpful. Again, because it kind of makes you difficult to block, because you'll probably produce one or the other or both, and then you have flexibility with the ports. Catan is a lot about having flexibility. People may have similar strategies with you, but you need to be able to pivot. If somebody blocks you or their rolls are going and you get cut off, or any of these things happen, you have to be able to pivot. You can't just sit there and pout and be sad and just give up on the game. You really need to be able to pivot, because there are many different ways that you could potentially win this game. So it's really important to be flexible.
We just can't every 6. If we get 2 6s.
So you notice how I keep getting in people's heads that every time a 6 rolls is a road for orange. I'm going to keep saying that a bunch of times and keep drilling it into their heads that the road production is important. People will get cut off. He will build towards the ports. He'll become very productive, strong, quickly. So I'm going to keep pointing that out.
You're all winners, so everyone is a threat. Go on.
Now the judge is getting a little frustrated because it's taking long and there's a lot of discussion going on. So he's telling us to kind of get going.
Especially that in the games, you never take that much time.
So I think it's important that there's plenty of time for this initial placement stage. It is really important. If a player gets off to a great start with great spots that they shouldn't get, and they have good adjacent areas that they can build to, and they get those spots, it could really be a blowout. So again, there's a lot of talk on this board about balance and making sure that everybody is, has good strong spots, but nobody is overwhelmingly powerful, so that they don't run away with this game. That's always a good way to kind of discuss the initial setups and making sure there's good balance. So here, again, I'm trying to get confirmation of where the other players are placing their second settlements, both blue and green. So I'm really milking it. I'm taking advantage of this time to get as much information as I can. I'm trying to see where everyone's going to go, just to confirm that my spot for my second placement is good. And everybody's really smart, playing really well at this table. So they're really good strategists. They're all champions. I'm really excited to play with these guys. This is going to be a great game. I'm excited to see how it goes. So again, what's fun here is I know exactly where I'm going. I've already decided that 20 minutes ago, but I'm kind of playing it off that, hey, I might go here. Is it better for you if I go here, and then I'll trade you this and you trade me that? Again, it's all just to get information. Trying to get as much information as I can, because the later the game goes on, you're not going to get any information and they're not going to help you. So early on, build the relationships, or at least get as much information as you can in what people's mindset are, where they're heading, who are the road builders, who are the development card builders. You can tell by the placements that they've chosen, but what kind of partnerships are being developed early on. It's really, really important. That's the whole reason this first part takes so long, is you're just milking information to help develop your strategy moving forward. Because also, as soon as I place that second settlement, everybody knows what I'm doing. They already have a pretty good idea, but it really declares that out loud with a megaphone what I'm doing. Again, it's no surprise. I think everybody kind of predicts what I'm about to do here in terms of becoming the dev card player, or one of the dev card players.
If you do not press the road, you're still positioning the village. If the village is already settled and you're moving the road, the most you can is move the road. Otherwise, you're just moving the village and try to see a reaction of your rock moves. Doesn't seem fair. Which one?
So here I'm talking about potentially taking that 3-10 sheep spot to pair with my 4 wheat and 10 rock. Again, I put out these feelers because I want to see people's reactions. If I do this, what do they think? Is somebody happy about that? Is somebody surprised about that? It's all getting information. Now I think I've gotten everything I can get, and we want to move on. So I put down my second spot. I'm really happy with this spot. Again, I got the 2 strongest rock spots, so it's going to be hard to block rock from me. I've got the strongest sheep. I've got a paired sheep, a paired 10 So every time a 10 rolls, I get a rock and a sheep. And then wheat, I don't have the strongest wheat, but I've got 2 wheat spots. A 2 is not going to roll much, but I've got that. And then I've got the 4 wheat. I'm going to build towards a port, and I'm going to buy a dev card quickly as this game gets going. So that's done. Now blue gets to put their second spot, and then green puts their last spot. And then we get going.
Everybody is strong. It's because when you play 2 or 3 are good, and 1 is okay. I like this, so everyone's smart.
So blue is negotiating kind of similar thoughts that I have been. We know that he wants, if he can get a brick to pair with his wood, we know that he's talking about potentially that 4 rock and that rock port, because he'll be then making 4 rock and 10 rock. He's got strong wheat with the 5 wheat, but he doesn't get sheep. So if he takes that 4-8 spot, the 4 rock and the 8 brick, he'll likely build towards the sheep to finally produce sheep. So that's a good spot. He starts automatically with a port, and then he's going to build towards that 3-for-1 port off the 10 as well. So that's going to be sort of his strategy. He makes roads because he'll have strong 9 wood and a strong 8 brick. Whereas, look at me, I've got nothing to pair my 8 wood with. I don't make any brick, and probably no one's going to trade brick with me. So the only value of that 8 wood is in production value for trading for the 3-for-1 port or trading to other people. I'm keeping in mind who would have the wood port. That's going to be orange eventually, and so I could offer trading wood to help him as well. That's again another reason why I would rather build go for the 3-for-1 port off of the 8 wood, not the 10 rock. And the reason is eventually I'll get a city on that spot, the 4 wheat, 10 rock, 8 wood, and then if I have the 3-for-1 port off of the 8, that would be 3 wood produced every 8 roll, and that's any card I want. So I think that's going to be more valuable than the 3-for-1 port off of the 10 rock. Also, the 10 rock is probably going to get robbed a lot because 2 of us are on it. That's blue and white. So I bet orange and green are going to block the 10 rock a lot. That's another reason why I wanted to make sure I got another rock production, which is the 5. 5 is off by itself. It's adjacent to the desert, so most likely I'm not going to have much competition around that 5 rock. And a solo block is not as valuable as blocking 2 people, so my 5 rock may not get blocked much. The 2 wheat's not going to get blocked much either. The 10 sheep might, but this makes me kind of unblockable in terms of rock, because either my 10 rock or my 5 rock is always going to be open. So again, that's my strategy, is buy dev cards, defend myself with knights, get the army, and hopefully some VPs and other strong cards as well. So blue declared where they're going. They're taking that 8 brick and 4 rock, starting with a rock port and pointing the road towards the 3 sheep. It's a good spot, good start. The only thing he doesn't make is sheep, but he does have a port, and he'll have a second port soon, so he's in a good spot as well. And then finally green is discussing his final spot, and I keep emphasizing that he should go for that brick port, because I think it's actually a really good spot for him. The reason is because he's going to make the best wheat. Right? He already makes the 5 and the 11. If he goes on the 4 wheat, 3 sheep, 9 wood, then he makes all the strong wheat. He can trade wheat all day long, and then he has wood, he has sheep, and he has brick. So if he points towards the brick port, he'll make additional wood, and it blocks orange from getting the brick port, and then it also gives him great resources to produce. The only downside is he doesn't make any rock. So he'll be the only player that doesn't make any rock. That's why he needs that port. He needs to get a port. Now, could he build a couple roads really quick to cut off orange to get to that 4 rock? Potentially. Just all depends on kind of what rolls. So he's trying to negotiate a little bit with orange so that they can coordinate who's going where down in the adjacent to the 6 brick, 11 brick, 4 rock. So that's part of the negotiations going on right now.
Without road building. And you would have a road connection.
I think Green knows exactly where he's going. I think he needs to go. He has to pair wood with that 6 brick. He has to balance out road builder with orange. So I think he knows where he's going. He's just trying to get information, just like I was. So good opportunity to talk, make some initial deals, if anyone will go for it, and to get the information that'll make become very valuable through this game.
Because otherwise, my setup is not going to be so good, and yours is going to be very good. And I understand if you ask for the same, like, I don't know, if someone then gets here before you, it's the same situation.
So you see, in this entire game, this setup period has already taken over half an hour. That's a lot, but again, at this high stakes game, it could make the difference between winning and losing. So it's important that people have these conversations, read each other, read the board, read the table, establish balance, establish any allegiances, and try to make the best of this initial setup phase.
No one robs you. Are you ready to expect that?
If no one stops me coming here, then respect.
So what orange and green are negotiating here is where green places his second settlement. He wants to ensure that he's got the next development site open for him and where orange is going. So they're kind of declaring each other. And so he goes ahead and puts that where we thought he would, to pair a 9 wood to go with the 6 brick, and then he's pointing the road towards the brick port, which is smart. That's what I would have done if I were him at that point as well. So this is a really good balanced board because we've got 2 players going for road builder in addition to other things, and then we've got 2 players going for development cards and army, which is also good. So you've got 2 and 2. So with that, we're about to start the game. Six rolls, which is what I was fearing, that every time a 6 rolls, orange gets a road. So he already started with strong cards, which are 2 wood and a wheat, and with the 6 brick, the 3 sheep, and the 4 rock, he got a road. So now he's got to decide. He's going to show everyone where his priority is. I was thinking of orange. Yeah, green, of course, is developing that road towards the 6 brick, 11 brick, and 12 sheep.
As you wish. Yeah.
I think the cup is better because sometimes
So a 3 rolled, so a couple sheeps come on the board. There's not much action anyone can take.
Burak will throw the dice over there. Do you have a dice over there?
No. The dice are only one. It guarantees it's not rolled twice for any mistake. Okay, so you re-roll both.
What's that?
It's 7.
All right, so 7 rolls. And I don't like to start with a 7 because you have to put it on somebody or somewhere, probably rob somebody, and then you start making enemies early on. On the other hand, it's a good opportunity to put it on the strong spot, which we're worried about. And as I said, I'm worried about the 6s, and that's going to allow people to build roads and potentially settle quickly. And so I want to slow that down. So I'm going to put it on the 6 brick. And I'm stealing from orange because I know they've got a road. I don't make any brick. And I want to slow him down because he's got at least a road in his hand. And as I said early on, and it's very clear from my placements, I'm going to go for development cards very quickly. No surprise. A 4 is rolled. That's good for me. Get a wheat in my hand. But it's also rock for orange and for blue.
How coordinated force. He's throwing the brick.
So green has declared kind of what their first priority is, and he wants to secure more brick because he's ultimately going to get that brick port. So orange now has to declare which way they're going. What's their priority? Are they going to fight for that spot with green, or are they going to go for the wood port quickly, or for more rock with the 4 rock? So all good decisions. Now, had he had 2 roads in his hand, he could have cut off green to the brick port and try to secure both the wood and brick port. That would have been a good opportunity had he had 2 roads. That's part of why I robbed from him as well, to lessen the opportunity in case a 6 rolled and he got exactly what he needed.
You can have port, I can trade 2 woods for wheat and trade with you. On blocks or something like this.
All right. So, as we expected, he placed the road towards the wood port so that he can secure that quickly. Because, again, he'll produce a lot of wood, so I think that's a smart move. And he doesn't need to make an enemy quickly with green. And he buys a dev card early, too, because the robber's on him, and he wants to try to take that off as quickly as possible. So, that makes sense.
Your own impression.
All right, so the 8 rolls, that's pretty good for blue because, again, he has paired wood and brick. I don't have the port yet, so a wood, 8 wood doesn't help me very well right now. So another 8 rolls, so I've got 2 wood, but I don't produce any brick.
What do you need to do that? Are you going to get the A3 first? I have a sheet for you. What do you need to make a resolution? One or
What do you need? Wood?
So there's a lot of talking that's going on here and through the game. And again, everybody is a very experienced, talented player. And what they're trying to do is sometimes they know exactly what they're going to do or not do. For example, sometimes they're not going to trade, but they're talking about trades because they want to just gather information. Again, if I offer something and somebody offers a trade, I start thinking about what they may have in their hand, and also what they're trying to get gives me clues as to what their next spot is, what their priority is. So a lot of times we'll be talking about these potential trades. Even if a trade ends up happening or not happening, it's still valuable because you're gathering information. This is also important too, because if you have development cards, if you have a knight that you might play, if your 7 is rolled, you want to be thinking ahead. Like, if any of these things happen, who am I going to rob, and who has a card that I need, and how do I slow down somebody? So these are all thoughts, Because if you don't think about that and then it happens, then you're pressed to make a quick decision, and you could rob the wrong person, or you may not get the card that you want. So this is all important to be planning ahead.
Two.
So I rolled a 2, which is unusual. Gives me the 2 wheat, which is great. I can't really do much with it at this moment because a 5 and a 10 have not rolled. I already bought a dev card.
Anybody want anything?
So here I'm trying to gather information. I don't have any action really I can do right now.
What can you get? Anybody want wood? Anybody want wheat?
So here I'm offering all sorts of things, trying to get information on who has what. I'm trying to draw attention to the wood port that orange will have soon. Again, trying to deflect. I want people to be thinking about other players, not me.
Why are you doing that? Why do you do that?
So here I'm getting information that blue is wanting wheat, 2 wheat, and he's offering me brick. He knows I don't make brick, so that could be helpful for me. But the fact that he wants 2 wheat, and I know he made a 4 rock, tells me he's going to try to go for city pretty quick, which is smart because he has the rock port. And being the first person on the board with a city is a pretty good advantage. It does make you the target as well, but I know that, okay, that's going to be a big priority for him. So I'm prioritizing development cards. He may be prioritizing a city first, which are both good ways to go. But I know I got to defend myself, so I'm going to keep going for dev cards before I go for a city. So now I'm starting to negotiate with him as well, because I know he wants that 3-for-1 port and to double up on the rock. Again, he wants to really build up the rock production because he has a rock port. So I'm talking with him about that port and negotiating if I leave that spot open for him, as opposed to if I try to race him for it. And again, I don't want that spot. I want the other 3-for-1 port anyways, which is a better spot for me. But defensively, I could go for that other port, block him out of it, and make less rock for him. But I think the better move for me is to go for that other port, the 3-for-1 port off of the 8 wood. It makes that 8 more valuable in its production because I'm just going to be trading wood with the bank likely. and that 10 rock is going to get robbed a lot.
I wish.
Okay, so can I ask which one, where would you block?
I would not leave it.
So right now, Orange is talking about playing a robber, playing a knight to move the robber and negotiating where he wants to put it. Again, so he draws favor from the other players, but then is able to rob from one of us.
I think I'm placing here, I'm doing the deal with you. Because there's no other spot I can block over them.
So this is where I'm telling Orange that, yeah, I think the 5 weed is a good spot. It's the strongest weed on the board. It slows down 2 players. We're worried about Blue because he wants to build a city. He needs to pair the rock with the wheat, so that's his only wheat. That's important. Slow him down early on. And then also Green, because Orange's big competitor is Green. So it would really make sense for Orange to block both Blue and Green. That's my argument. I'm pushing hard for that. The other thing that's important early on is if you control the knight, then the robber may end up sitting on a spot for a long time. And that's another value in going for dev cards quickly, so that you can control the robber and eventually you end up with the army as well. So this worked. We got it on the 5 wheat. I'm happy with that. And he's stealing from somebody else. It's not on me. I'm happy.
Seven.
But unfortunately, he rolls a 7. He's got to move it off anyways. So now we go through this again, where he wants to put it back on. I would have loved the robber to sit on that 5 for a long time in the beginning of the game. So, not surprising, he puts it on the 10 rock. But luckily, he's going to now rob from Blue, because I'm trying to play it off that I'm not a threat early on, and he needs to worry about Green and Blue. So a lot of this early game is really deflecting. You want to deflect any negative attention from yourself and show that other people are scary. And right now, I'm going to focus a lot on Orange, because Orange got that wood port. It's got good wood production and brick production. And so he's going to be pretty self-sufficient. So 8 rolls again. Again, I'm producing good wood, but I don't have brick to go with it. So I'm going to keep offering it for a trade. Early on in these games, I really don't mind starting out behind, because I don't want to be the early target, and I like playing more from behind. Jumping to a quick lead makes you the target, and some people like to do that and then play off of that, and others play more under the radar. So this is sort of what's developing right now. Orange is jumping into the lead a little bit with a wood port. Already played a knight, and I'm going to be kind of working the table to talk about how he's scary. I've got no brick to pair with my wood. I've only bought 1 dev card so far. I'm not at risk for city yet. Blue is thinking about city. So these are things that I'm getting in people's heads early on. All right, so this is where, again, we talked about the road. And I'm telling him, don't really have to worry about me. Let's trade. Let's be nice. I'll let you get that spot. I won't chase you for it.
Nine.
So a 9 rolls. It's not good for me. I don't produce anything on the 9. Wood comes into production with the 9 for everyone except me. So I don't like 9s on this table. Again, I don't have much I can do right here. I'm trying to trade away the wood, trying to get something that's beneficial to me. Again, I'm trying to emphasize to blue that, hey, if I let you go to that 3 for 1 port off the 10, let me go for that 3 for 10 or that 3-10 sheep spot. And so I don't make any brick, so I'm trying to get a good brick deal from blue because he produces good brick while I produce good wood, and we should be helping each other if we can here. And again, a big part of my negotiation is I won't chase you to that 3 for 1 port off of the 10. I'll let you take it. So this is a great trade for me because I make plenty of wood, but if I give him wood and wheat, he gave me 2 brick, which is great because I don't make any brick. So I'm getting closer to that spot, and I'm going to follow through on my promise to show him that I'm not lying. I'm going to make that road. I'm going to build it away and show that he can trust me and trade. And pass the dice without again producing anything. So I'm not a threat. I'm not scary.
9.
Unfortunately, 9 rolls again, and everybody produces something except me.
Maybe someone worse.
I'm also not happy with that 9 because blue is my trading partner for a brick. And if he doesn't produce wood to pair, then I'm the wood production for him from the 8. But if he produces 9s, then he doesn't need me. So that's another reason I don't want 9s to roll. All right, 8 rolls again. So more wood for me, more brick for blue. Now I'm looking for sheep. As we predicted early on, sheep's going to be a problem for everybody through most of this game. And the 10 hasn't rolled yet. Also, as we predicted, the robber is sitting on the 10 rock. It's a good spot. It blocks 2 people from rock. And obviously I didn't play the robber, play the knight to move the robber. So I don't have a knight as my unturned dev card. Now that's also a good giveaway that if somebody has a robber on one of their good spots and they don't play a knight, then they may not have a knight. Now sometimes they do, and they just want people to think that that's the case. But I really don't have a knight in this case. So people know that I have a non-knight, which could be dangerous. It could be a victory point, a monopoly, a year of plenty, a road building. So it could be any of those things. It could still be a knight because I produce rock on a 5, and so I don't mind if it's on the 10. So that's part of the calculus as well. So here I'm getting things in people's heads. So I'm telling orange that watch out for green. He may try to cut you off and build towards that 4 rock, which would be good. I mean, I'm sure if a bunch of rolls came and he could do that, he probably would, because that would be his only rock production. But that hasn't happened for him yet. So now he's sort of debating what is going to be his move. He's got a bunch of wood because the 9's been rolling.
I can do no better.
So part of this deal is wheat for sheep so that green can make a settlement, and he does, and then blue negotiates a non-block. That's non-binding, but green is agreeing not to block blue the next time he has an opportunity. Those trades are legal and fine, and part of the deal is fine, but again, it's non-binding. You could not do it, you could do it, you may forget. So those are elements of the game. So it's blue's turn, and he would love to put that settlement at the 3-for-1 port. But a sheep is the problem. And that's why he was willing to trade green, give him a settlement in order to get some cards.
Road, and settle. We're going to have a tough time when we get to pure wood, I think. Yes.
All right, so sort of as we predicted, that blue's initial intention is to build a city. There's a lot of cards he traded for that, and it's a good move. It's smart, but it does also make him a target, which is fine for me, because look at what's on the board right now. What it shows is that orange has 3 points, green has 3 points, blue has 3 points, and on the board I only have 2. So I'm kind of falling behind right now as it appears on the board, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy that I'm not showing that I'm a big threat and people can kind of focus on others. That's exactly what I want early in the game. Now the 10 rolls, 10 is blocked, rock, but I get a sheep, which is great because that's exactly what I need to build my settlement. And before I do that, I'm offering a trade with a wood. Because once I build the settlement, then I've got the third point too. Nobody wants to make a trade, so I'll go ahead and just build the settlement. I get my 3-for-1 port. 8 produces a little bit more. Just go towards trading and the port. 3 rolls. So unfortunately, there's an extra sheep on the board for orange and for green. I say unfortunately because I really want sheep to be scarce, except for me, of course, because I make it on the 10. But I want people to be slowed down so they can't build settlements or buy development cards. So the worry now is that blue has good production and has a settlement spot open for that dev card, for that 3-for-1 port. But again, I'm happy at this point still because even though the 10 rock is blocked, it's worse for blue because he has a city on the 10 rock, and then he's going to build another settlement on the 10 rock. And I don't mind if it's being blocked because I make rock on a 5, so I'm okay with that. But he does make 2 wheat on a 5, so the 5. If a lot of 5s roll, it's good and bad. It's good because I make rock, but 2 other people make wheat. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're making good numbers.
Yes, but we all know that their game is much faster than ours.
So here the discussion is I'm pointing out how other people are the threat, and I'm not the threat. Notice that that's constantly a theme where people are, again, trying to get the attention on other people, as that's an important part of the game. So the 5 rolls, I get my rock, but then good wheat production for blue and for green.
Five.
Another 5 rolls. So again, more wheat. I get another rock.
Two.
2 rolls. I get a wheat.
6 only rolled once. 6 only rolled once.
So now at this point, there are a couple thoughts. 5 is rolled a couple times. Wheat, there's a lot of wheat on the table, right? Because green and blue and orange all have wheat. I have a few rock. And so what's going to happen here is I'm going to try to make a deal to trade off some wheat or rock. I'm really fishing for information now because I'm trying to count how many cards people have of either of the resources. And so the big thing that might happen right here, people are forgetting, is I have a development card I haven't played. Now, if you don't play it for a while, people a lot of times will assume it's a victory point because you really can't do anything with it until you win the game with 10 points. So there's no other action with a victory point. So I've been trying to get people to think that I have a VP here. What ends up happening is I actually have a monopoly, and I'm sitting on it. I wasn't planning to use it until end of the game, so I was going to try to play it off as a victory point. But a bunch of 5s rolled, and so my thought process here is I have a few rock. I know there's a ton of wheat. I have a 3-for-1 port now, and I want to empty everyone's hand of wheat because it's powerful. So I'm trying to make any deals I can. It's not really successful there. So then I'll play the monopoly and I'll steal all the wheat, and then I'll offer to trade it back. But ultimately, I'm going to go ahead and build my city then, which is going to be a big plus for me. And then I also have cards if I want to go dev cards as well, right? I've got the sheep, I've got wheat, I've got rock, so that's another good move as well. All of it's very valuable because I take all the wheat on the table into my hand to pair with my rock, and I've got a sheep.
Or money. I mean, our both work, our both bad for us. Yes.
So anybody wants wheat, rock,
Or wood.
I can offer wood.
No, I can do.
So I'm trying to make any deals I can before I play the Monopoly. Because once I play the Monopoly, everything changes. The game changes, the table is going to change, the attitude is going to change, and I'm going to try to get whatever I can before I turn that card.
Okay, so anybody want wood?
I do.
Okay, what can you do?
For wood? I can use wood. Wheat, but how many cards? 7.
So I'm offering wood, and Orange is offering wheat. I don't want to do that deal because I'm going to monopoly the wheat anyways. So now I'm going to gather all the wheat, takes it from everybody's hand, puts it in mine, and now I can pair it really well with either dev cards or with city.
What can you give me?
So now I'm offering to give wheat back if I can get anything, which is not a bad trade for me because I've got plenty now.
We're going to play you. Let him play. He has a lot of cards.
Wood.
Yeah, I
I'll give you wheat.
Can you play it first and then I decide?
Depends what I get.
Since he's going to maybe offset, and that's what he wants to do. Let him play. I mean, he's going to be far away. Far ahead.
So rightfully so, Green is worried now because this is now a powerful play. The Monopoly was extremely valuable, and I used it at the right time because a bunch of 5s rolled. So I converted to a city, which is great for me. People may debate which settlement spot to upgrade to a city. To me, it was clear I wanted to do the 5 rock and the 10 sheep. The 2 wheat is not great, but remember the 10 rock is going to get blocked a lot, and I don't mind that. and the 5 rock is less likely to be blocked. Also, it doubles up on the 10 sheep, because I, again, want to be the only one producing a bunch of sheep. So that's why I chose that. And then I'm sitting on the rest of the cards to see what I can pair later. I get more wheat as a 4 is rolled, but then there's some rock on the table too. But at least blue doesn't have any wheat, which is good, because he's producing wood rock, brick, and wheat, but I stole all the wheat with the monopoly.
Maybe if you cut too many cards.
So what are our next considerations here? One, blue, it wants that 3-for-1 port on the 10 rock. He also wants to expand to that 3 sheep, so he can start making some sheep. What does green want to do? Green is either going to want to cut off orange to get to the 4 rock, or he's going to build to the brick port. If I were him, I'd probably try to get to the brick port, because he makes a good amount of brick, and it again still blocks it from orange. Orange is still a threat to cut off road to the brick port, so that's a potential as well. So 10 rolls, so immediately I'm happy because I've got more sheep, so that I can start buying some more dev cards. And I don't mind the 10 rock being blocked because it slows down blue, and it doesn't affect me too much because I've got my 5 rock production. All right, so green can't do anything, passes to blue. Let's see what blue does. Rolls a 5, which I'm not thrilled because I had just stolen all the wheat, but now everybody's made wheat again. But I'm happy because I built a city, and now I got 2 more rock. So now I've got rock and sheep and wheat. I'm pretty happy at this point when the turn comes to me, because I've got a lot I can do. Remember, a big part of my game is I want to buy dev cards, and I haven't bought much yet, just 1. But there's only been 2 dev cards bought in the game. Orange has 1, and I have 1. Thankfully, blue hasn't done any, because the main competitor for development cards and army is going to be blue. But ironically, he doesn't have any. I don't have any knights either. But the only person who has bought a knight so far is orange, which is unusual because he's more likely the road player. But here I'm excited for it to get to my turn, because again I have still several wheat. I've got a 10 rolled, so I've got sheep, and a 5 rolled, and I've got rock. And keep in mind, I know the white is hard to see on this board with this camera angle, but I've got a city on the 2 wheat, 5 rock, 10 sheep. So right now points are white, that's me. I've got 4 points. Blue has 3 points on the board, and green has 3 points, and orange has 3 points. So the conversation is shifting now to me, and it's obvious, it makes sense, because that monopoly changed everything. I've got an unblocked city, and I've got a lot of great cards in my hand. They're asking how many cards I have in my hand. They're hoping that I roll a 7 and have to drop. And thankfully I don't roll a 7 and instead an 8, so I pick up 2 more wood. So I'm really happy with that. And so now I've got a bunch of cards in my hand. I have great options. Just look at that stack in my hand. Really happy. I've got plenty of rock, wheat, sheep. Now, I know I'm going to buy a bunch of dev cards. I don't want to say that quickly, but I know nobody's trading with me, so I go ahead and buy 2 dev cards. Now I'm starting my army production. I'm happy with that. I can start defending myself and start stealing from key locations. And I'm pretty happy with the direction of this game right now. I've started sort of under the radar, started building, was lucky enough to have a monopoly. I think I played it well, built the city. I'm not robbed. I have some defense now with 2 unturned dev cards, and I still have cards in my hand. There really hasn't been much road production yet, so nobody's taken road. I have a 3-for-1 port. I'm really excited with the direction of this game. It's going exactly like I would like. Another 8 rolls, more wood production for me. Again, the only value of wood for me is a commodity to trade, either with other players or with the bank. Other players are going to stop trading with me because now they're afraid, but that's why I need the port, so I could trade with the bank. But this game is going really, really well. I'm really, really happy. So they're starting to get nervous. The conversation is now building around how they can help each other and who's going to start challenging me for army. And the problem here is that there hasn't been much production of development cards other than me. You can see that blue has 1. I've bought 3 now, and orange has bought 1. Green hasn't bought any, and he doesn't make any rock, so he's probably not going to be able to make much production of development cards. Keep in mind that that blue doesn't make any sheep, so that's going to hamper his sheep production, his development card production as well. So that's really why I wanted to really control the sheep production, so that that influences the development card purchases.
No, he's going to board something and he give me that and I will card.
That's exactly the point. 2 for 1 and 1 for 1.
No, because he's boarding in his turn. No, like next one. No, I give you 2 wood and you give me, I don't know, a sheep, but you have to have 2 wood in your hand to do that. That's what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying? Yes.
And then they're not.
No, not the other way. Not the three cards.
But then it's better if I just part for the week now.
No, let's go. Let's do it.
So now they're starting to get creative on how they can help each other use somebody else's support. So it gets kind of dicey here, and the judge is jumping in to kind of explain what he feels is legal or not legal. And this is important because the interpretation of the rules is critical in what is allowed for porting or not porting. Obviously, somebody who has a port, they can use their own port on their own turn. But what they're discussing is, can you trade a bunch of cards to one person with a port and then trade something back once they use their port? And the ruling is that if you're getting a free card, you cannot do that. That would be illegal. So they're playing with the wording and the order of the moves to try to establish, is it legal or is it not? So that's the conversation that's going on right now. Notice that at this point as well, there's no timer. So the judge declared early on, before the start of the game, that they don't want to institute a timer. This is the final game. Nobody wants to see a timer. They let everybody play creatively, strategically, and this is a really high-stakes game, so don't limit it by a timer. And I agree. However, he warned that if it goes on too long, they'll have to institute a timer, which is reasonable. So he's also starting to warn about that. If it starts dragging on too long with the turns, that he'll institute a timer. Now, strategically for me, I don't mind. I actually want a timer because the longer that this goes on, the other three players are going to collaborate, strategize ways to team up against me, and they'll come up with creative ways to slow me down, which is definitely what they want to do and they should be doing, but I don't want to happen because it will affect my game. So it'll be to my advantage if a timer is placed on this game sooner rather than later. But you'll notice that all the conversations now are shifting. Rightfully so, they're all afraid of my position, my moves, my strategy now. I've become target number one, which I was all along, but I started kind of under the radar. I wasn't as much targeted, but now for sure. They're scheming together, which is all legal and part of the game, to figure out how they can slow me down. So Blue had a knight, so he's playing the knight, and he's definitely going to put it on me. He's just debating which spot of me to put it on, and then he'll rob from me. He recognizes smartly that the sheep is really a critical spot here because that's the death card production. So he blocks the 10 sheep, and he's going to steal from one of my mini cards. All right, and he rolls.
Please. Come on.
And a 8 rolls, and I produce more wood. Again, making the point why that 3-for-1 poured off the 8 wood is more valuable for me because it's just more resources to trade eventually. Playing the odds, of course, the 6s and the 8s are going to roll more often, and the 10s not as often, but again, I don't mind the 10 being blocked. In fact, I'll block it myself sometimes because I'm producing it on the 5, and it slows down Blue, who's my main development card strategy competitor. So I don't mind the 10 being blocked. Of course, I'd rather the 5 wheat because I'm not on it, and then that's a critical spot for 2 players. So you hear the despair among the players. They're talking about how they're in trouble, and I think they are because I'm jumping ahead. I still have a bunch of cards. I have 2 unturned cards. So I'm debating now is, do I play a knight? I still have a bunch of cards in my hand. If I roll a 7, I may drop. So that's part of the conversation right now.
No, please.
How many cards do I have? Two.
Sorry. 5, my bad.
2, 5, 6.
So I'll go ahead and play the knight because the 10 sheep is such an important spot, and I don't want to miss out on sheep production. Deciding who's my main threat. It's the 5 wheat that gets blue and green. Blue is my main threat right now, so I want to slow down the wheat production. And I block the 5 and the 5 rolls, which was awesome. And I pick up 2 rocks. So I'm just gleaming. I'm very happy. This is going really well. Look at the stack of cards in my hand again. And I have several options.
And when you game from the bathroom, you may go at a time. And then we take profit of the break for every one of you, okay?
All right, so some of the players want to take a bathroom break right now. And what was kind of funny is that a couple of the players wanted to go at the same time. And I was emphasizing that, no, people should go one at a time. So there's no side conversations happening away from the table. So the judge agrees, and he sends one player at a time. And so we're paused for a bathroom break. So this is great for me because now it's my turn, and I just rolled a 5.
Yeah, but if you go wrong, the agreement is between you. So
Now I rolled a 5. I've got the extra rock. I've got a stack. So I got more time now to consider my options as the players are taking turns to go to the bathroom.
that's the kind of situation that doesn't occur.
So let's talk about sort of what are some of the options right now. So I have the opportunity to buy more dev cards. I could buy a city. I could go for 3 for 1, build a brick, and go for a road. So these are all options. But for me, I don't think it makes sense for me to expend resources to buy a brick, to buy a road. So therefore, I'm thinking again more cities and development cards. Those are my strategies because again, they're going to more and more fear me and want to rob from me. And eventually, they're going to team up and start buying dev cards themselves to challenge me on army. So all that's going to happen, which makes sense, for which reason I need to buy more dev cards and keep going in that direction of army and hopefully some of the others, victory points, another monopoly, road building, year of plenty. All of these are helpful. And that's again why I talk about flexibility, is development cards give you flexibility. And good players can use any of those cards to a big advantage. And you can be creative and strategic. So that gives you options to do a lot of different things and to be sort of a mystery. Like I still have an unturned card. Nobody knows what that is. And green still doesn't have any. Blue has 1 played knight. I have 1 played knight. And orange has 1 played knight and 1 unturned card. So anyone can still get army. However, with my production and sheep and rock and decent wheat, I'm now favored to take army, which is great. That's 2 points for me and 2 less points for one of the other 3 players. Notice that still nobody's contending for road yet, so that's still a consideration. So if I ever buy a road builder, I could potentially take road. Now I'm not going to do that quickly or early if I bought a road builder. You definitely don't want to jump to that level where you're a threat for army and for road, especially when you're not the road builder. So even if I got road builder, I'm not going to play that anytime soon. And but obviously it'd be a good advantage. So eventually they're going to want to lock down road quickly, especially as it gets later in the game and I get more points. You don't want somebody to sneak away with a win with 5 roads. You want to make it a lot more difficult to get the road. And definitely one of the road players, which is going to be orange or green, they should lock up road soon because this is starting to become a runaway. If my numbers keep rolling, 5s and 10s, even the 8s, the 4s, then I'm just going to keep buying dev cards, build another city eventually, and some of the dev cards are going to be VPs at some point, along with securing army. So again, I'm ecstatic. I'm loving this game. This is becoming a true runaway. For a championship game, I'm just ecstatic that it's going my way. But it can turn. It can turn any moment. All right, so everybody's back, and we're continuing with the game, and I have a bunch of cards and a lot of opportunities. So I'm sure nobody's going to trade with me, but I'm going to offer trades. Again, I'm trying to still gather information. If anybody slips up and tells me something that is going to give me an advantage, I'm going for it. So trying to consider options and take, read again people's faces and their expressions and their body language, their communication between them. Everything is a clue that could give you an advantage. So sometimes you're in a position where you could buy multiple development cards, or you can buy a city. So there's a big debate about which is better. And I think it depends on the game, it depends on what stage of the game you're in, and it depends on what your opponents are doing and what they have done. So sometimes it's better to buy the city, sometimes it's better to buy multiple dev cards. So at this point, I'm calculating different things in my hand, what I'm going to do. And my first move is buying a dev card. I'm using 3 wood as a sheep. And I'm going to look at that card first. And depending on what that is, that'll determine what my next step is. So if you're considering multiple dev cards, it's always best to buy one at a time, see what you got, because that could affect if you want to buy another dev card or you want to do something different. If you buy a dev card, you always want to put it aside, separate from your other dev cards, because you're not allowed to play it right away. So that's why you'll see it's not with the rest of the pile right now, because you want to show which ones you've purchased before. Because you can play one of those if you haven't already, and you can't play the one you just bought.
And he has no gap of.
So I'm buying another development card. Again, I declared early on that I'm really wanting to buy a ton of dev cards. I can buy a city later, but the dev cards are something you'll have in your pocket to be able to use anytime. So that's why I'm still going heavy on dev cards. So instead of doing like a city, I bought 2 dev cards, which I think was the right move for me.
Wait, before flipping, where we should plan?
All right, so now it's because, remember, this is an individual sport, but they're playing it like a team sport, which is fine. Is what they're discussing is now it's Orange's turn, but they're telling him don't do anything yet, because if you're going to turn a knight, or if you roll a 7, let's discuss where to put it, where to attack Brock before you turn the card or before a 7 is rolled. Because the rule in this tournament is you can't talk, you can't threaten people after you turned a knight or a 7 is rolled. You just have to go ahead and place the robber and then rob. So that's why they want to discuss it as a team first, which again is smart. I don't blame them. So they're going to rob my 5 rock. They know that's a good spot. Again, I don't mind too much, because if a 10 rolls, I get rock and sheep. And if the 10 is blocked and a 5 rolls, I get 2 rock. So I'm perfectly fine with this. 5 rolls, they're lucky. I don't get 2 more rock. But I'm still okay because I've got a bunch of dev cards. So blue is really smart. He's trying to give a pep talk to the other players, saying that we're really falling behind. We need to work together. We need to get somebody, a bunch of dev cards to battle army with me.
Yes.
So what they're doing is they're trying to convince Orange to buy dev cards, which is a tough spot to be in because he's not the best person to buy dev cards. Blue should probably be that person, but he doesn't make sheep. So he's trying to convince Orange to be the dev card person. Now, the irony is that he's more poised to be the road person, just like Green. So Green and Orange were supposed to be the road players, and Blue and White are supposed to be the rock players. Now, there's no, these roles, I say supposed to be, it's just based on kind of placements and initial startup and kind of direction that people are headed. It can all change, and remember I said to be flexible. So it's reasonable for Orange to consider receiving help to buy dev cards to battle army with me, because somebody has to do it. So they have to work together. They're doing the right thing. They're all playing smart. Again, they're all great players. they have to team up because I'm jumping too far ahead. So they're doing the right thing. And they have to collaborate to help somebody else get a bunch of dev cards to battle. The problem, though, for Orange is what is his path to victory? So what you have to do in Catan is always think about what's your own path to victory? How are you going to get 10 points? But also, what's everybody else's path to victory? That's critical. You can't just focus on yourself because there's no second, third, or fourth place. There's one winner and there are 3 people who have lost. And so that's going to be critical in figuring out what's my path, what's everybody else's path, how can I slow down other people's paths, how can I block their paths and keep my path open. So that's important. So what Orange is thinking about is, okay, even if I get Army, how many points do I have? And then have I wasted all my resources and I can't get Road anymore because Green blocks up Road? That's a very good concern he should have, and I'm reminding him of that. So as Green, Blue, and Orange are all teaming up now against me, I'm trying to poke at the emotions of Orange, thinking, great, they're going to help you get development cards, but then what? What's next? Because that's all you're doing. Are they using you? And so this is the concern. Who is the puppet master here, and who is being used to waste their resources towards development cards? That's not a complete waste because, again, there's a value. But what you have to consider is count what's on the table, what's on the board, what are development cards turned and unturned, what might be victory points, and what is everyone's path to victory? How do they get to 10 points? Because that's all that counts. If you end up with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points, it's still not 10, and there's only one winner. So notice that the person talking the most right now is Blue, but it's Orange's turn. So that's smart. He's trying to control the table to formulate a group strategy. He's trying to help himself, but he's also trying to help Orange so that Orange can fight me. And that's exactly what the table needs to do. They're doing the right thing to try to slow me down. At this point, I'm listening. I'm not interjecting too much because I think it's pretty obvious that I'm jumping too far into the lead. So look at the 3-way trades going on. It's all legal. It's all fine. But they're doing everything they can to help Orange get dev cards. I don't mind too much because that means if he's buying 1 dev card while I'm still buying 2 or 3 at a time, he can't catch up anyways. And if he's buying dev cards, then he's not doing other things, which is fine. And if everybody's giving their cards to him, then they're not doing much either. So they're all working together to get one guy dev cards. And if their games aren't progressing too much, then I'm not really too worried. So I don't really need to irritate people by fighting back or getting annoyed. I'm just kind of sitting back and enjoying the show.
With the extra card, it's clear for everybody. Okay, so trade back, and no, this was the break?
So look at this whole sequence of so many trades going on between them, and this is all to get Orange to buy dev cards, which is fine.
I tried 2 for 1 and you give the other wood. No, I only have 1 wood.
So all this going on, it's taking up a lot of time. So the judge is worried that this has taken too much, and this is a live broadcast that people throughout the world are watching, and they need to kind of speed this along as well. So he had warned that if things take too long, he's going to bring in a timer. And now at the end of all this, Orange is able to buy 1 dev card. Again, I'm not too upset with this. I'm not upset at all because all 3 players needed to pull their cards together for Orange to buy 1 card, which I'm okay with. Unfortunately, another 5 rolls. So again, my rock is blocked. The other players make wheat. So I'm not thrilled with that. But what can you do?
Do you think we need to? For the cards? No doubt. Yeah, for fight is blood. and for running for 10 rolls, I mean, at least. Yeah. And maybe we can trade you and you can of course. Yes. So, okay. Roll a 6.
Eight. It's only 5 and of course.
Another 8 rolls. Again, I don't mind picking up resources to trade.
What? 0.
And again, let's count the points now. So blue has 3 points on the table, doesn't have any unturned cards. Green has 3 points on the table, doesn't have any unturned cards. And orange has 3 points on the table, has 2 knights played and 1 unturned card. So he's potentially at risk for taking army. I've only had turned 1 knight so far, and so I have I'm behind in terms of army, so I'm going to have to play some knights to make some progress there. So blue is making some progress. He finally gets that settlement. He's got that 3-for-1 port. So now he's got 4 points on the board. Still doesn't have any other dev cards other than that turned knight.
We need to cut it off, yes. But the 6 is no good. I mean, that's crazy. 1 6. 1 6 is man.
How many cards is that?
6.
So I'm going to play a knight, block the 5 wheat, steal from blue or green. I'm going to steal from blue. He's the bigger threat than green right now. They're happy with a 6. 6 didn't roll much so far in the game, which is unusual. But now orange gets a road and green takes 2 brick. It's a good roll for them, and I get nothing, so they're happy with that.
9 or 6. Yes.
So at this point I couldn't do anything, so I passed.
Yes.
And orange is considering whether or not to play a knight.
Yes, fire. Let's go.
He plays the knight, he takes the army. And so, again, I don't mind too much here because, again, it takes some attention away, so I can now start saying, hey, well, now orange has army, and I don't have army. It's going to take a long time for me to now battle that because I have to play 2 knights to get 4 as opposed to his 3. So now the argument is that he's got 3 on the board and he's got army, so he's got 5 points. And I, on the board, have 4 points plus 2 unturned cards, so I don't have army. And a 4 rolls, there's some wheat, but then there's some rock as well. So I'm not liking the turn here because that 5 rock was blocked for a couple of rolls, and then now a 4 rolls, and I don't have army. I'm still in a good position, but let's see how a couple of rounds go.
At least 1 and 1. I think has 1 and another very safe.
So what blue is doing is saying, hey, you guys don't get complacent. It's not over. where Orange is comfortable with Army yet. He's saying that I'm still a threat because I've got two unturned, and we can't rest yet. And he's absolutely correct. So he's trying to keep everybody vigilant about what might happen. So I'm not too worried at this point because remember all the resources that had to go into sharing towards Orange so that he can buy a dev card. So what I want to happen right now is hopefully he can't do much, and I don't want him to buy any more dev cards. I do want everybody to kind of feel comfortable. And so I'm kind of making comments now is, okay, Orange, you've got Army, now what? As I said, like you don't want to get complacent that your game is secured, because where are you going to get 10 points? If Green takes Road, and then I eventually take Army back. So you need to play your game and don't let other people kind of manipulate you. So that's some of the conversation that's happening now. So he's debating kind of what is his next move.
But we keep you playing nice.
Now, back to that.
No, it's not. You have a 60 devs and 4 points.
Can you disclose info in depth? I can't do the dev now, and that's how you help, and then you
So now Orange is realizing that, yeah, what is his next step? Because he can't keep just buying one dev card every turn, and if at best then that he just kind of sits at sits at Army, and then buys a dev card here and there. It's just not enough. It's not enough production while everybody else makes progress. So he's a bit concerned about his position. And that's why, again, I'm happy. I don't mind this. I don't mind falling behind and playing below the radar in the beginning, and also letting other people take Army or take Road for a bit. If I know the path, think chess, not checkers. Think what are 10 steps ahead, where things are headed, what's the momentum. And right now the momentum is still in my hands, so I'm not worried. I'm still fine.
We're making chase Army, then one of us is going to get Army. I think you're giving up the road position.
So that's the argument I'm making to Orange,
You need to look out for yourself.
is that he needs to look at his path to victory, and that blue or white will end up with Army, likely, and green or orange should end up with Road. And if he's kind of in limbo in between, then he's going to get stuck, and he's not going to be able to do either one. That green will run away with Road, and either blue or white will have Army. And then, again, what is Orange's path to victory then? How does he make 10 points? It would be very difficult without either one of those. So I keep hammering that, trying to get that into his head, and I think he's seeing that, and he's getting worried because the other guys won't continuously feed him forever because they're making progress, but he's continuing to drag on the development card battle. So he does buy another dev card, which is reasonable. Again, he's started this road, and now he kind of has to continue. That's the hard part now, is he's not stuck, but he kind of has to keep going in that direction, which I'm not unhappy with, because I really don't want it to be blue anyways, to be buying the dev cards. So I'm happy here because of 10 rolls, so I get 2 sheep and I get a rock, but unfortunately blue gets 3 rock, and that's great for him. He has the rock port, he makes good wheat on the 5, so I'm still keeping my eye on blue for the most part.
But I mean, that's what I'm talking about. You're going to get estimated more, and you're like doing these.
So here Orange is getting concerned because he's feeling he's being taken advantage of. They're asking him to sacrifice, but they're making progress and he's not making as much progress. So, rightfully so, he's concerned. So what I want at this point is the three of them have been working it well as a team against me, right? Again, this is not a team sport, this is individual, but they're doing the right thing. But now that team is starting to break, and I'm encouraging it. I want it to crumble. I want them to fight amongst each other, because instead of teaming up against me, if they start bickering or fighting, which is exactly what I want, then they lose focus on me, and I continue to march forward.
Gabriel, we're going to play this base. We're going to play the base. You're not being a Gabriel, Gabriel, you have the most important asset in the game. Your asset is this card, and you want you to put this card.
It's not the most important. The most important asset is this
number. No, man, we're going to keep you. We're going to keep you poking.
Look at my position, look at his position.
So this conversation is very critical, because you see how the team is breaking down. Orange is realizing what I've been saying all along is what's your path to victory? So this is music to my ears, right? Because I don't have to fuel the flames. Let them start breaking down their efforts to collaborate against me. So the reference to pop is buying a dev card. So that's what they keep talking about, is they keep encouraging him to pop, to buy dev cards, which is a strategy. But how is he going to get to 10 points? That is the critical part. And it's difficult for him to keep pacing against me, because I still have more dev cards, and eventually I'll catch up and surpass him with army.
Why you're being like that? I mean, we're giving you everything to pop.
Because he knows. I always lose. I always have to trade 2 wood to something that's not productive.
I gave you 3 cards that
True, but
we're giving you cards, man. We're giving you every. I mean, 2 you want.
His condition includes road. That's the problem. And you're making
I mean, yeah, look. He doesn't, because how many points? But wait, Gabriel, how many points you get with Rose? How many points you get with Rose? How many points you get with Rose? 2. How many points you get with?
he's just saying who has this production right now?
Let me tell you again.
So this is, again, I'm enjoying the show, because let them keep arguing amongst each other, because they're in a tough spot, because I'm jumping quite ahead, and the only person challenging me for dev cards is Orange, but he has to be fed by the other guys. And this is the huge disadvantage, because it weakens, they have to pool all their cards together, and if they don't have great OWS production or wheat sheep, then they can't catch up with me. And if that's all they do, then they're not doing much else. And again, that's what Orange is really, really worried about. And he should be worried. It's really just limiting his overall game. But they're all kind of in a tough spot, because they've fallen behind with dev cards against me. Because blue would have probably been the better fight, because Orange doesn't make good wheat, And as he said, he's having to port his wood production with a wood port in order to supplement the dev card.
No, it is not necessary. Can we make some trade to work it out? And I gave you 2 wheat and you gave me 2 war. What can we do? I'm 14 for brick.
So there's a big trade option here where blue is offering 3 rock and he's trying to trade for wheat from green. And green would love that because green doesn't make any rock. So this could be a pretty good trade for both of them to get things that they don't make or that can help them jump to the next level. Because they've been pretty stuck, pretty stagnant for a while, which I'm happy with as the 4th player.
I think respectfully, you need to watch
But
out.
wait, what?
He's controlling like a puppet.
What is like how you get to 7 cards on it? No, I'm giving you 2 wheat, 2 brick. Okay.
So here blue gets a great trade because he gives up 3 rock, but he got 3 brick and 2 wheat. Just 5 cards. That's tremendous. And he's going to make a good move on his turn.
Where do you think is the
Now green is able to make a move as well, so each person kind of gets something out of it. But that's a lot of cards. All right, so green finally gets a city, which is a good move.
When turn gets
It's a good move because, again, he doesn't make any rock. So he's going to take the opportunity that he can get to build a city.
timer of 2 minutes.
So now the judge is warning that the game is just taking way too long, and the turns are taking too long, and he's going to add a timer for everybody equally.
This final took 3 hours.
Yeah, it is, but this one is now 2 hours.
So the other players don't want a timer. Just let us play because this is the final game, and I generally would agree with that. But a timer would give me the advantage because it gives them less time to conspire. So I don't mind there being a timer. Another 8 rolls, I get more wood, but blue gets more brick.
You know what my guy is.
I have 1 card. Doesn't work.
So he's buying a dev card to now get into that battle as well. Which he should, but it's a little late now. But still, it's beneficial to buy dev cards, for sure.
Ten.
Alright, so 10 rolls. I'm very happy with that. Again, 2 sheep. I make the most sheep on the board. I get a rock, but blue gets 3 rock. So another big decision to make because I have a lot of cards in my hand, and I have 2 unturned dev cards.
I have 2.
So I'm happy with this because I don't make any brick, but I have a road building now. So I'm considering which way to go, and I get to place the two roads in any strategic way. So what I'm thinking about here is I can position myself for two potential settlements. I could put myself in a road position, which I don't want to do because they can quickly take it away from me. And so instead, I do kind of this Y configuration, so that gives me opportunity for two other settlements. I had a settlement in my hand, so I went ahead and built that settlement on the 310 sheep, and that's great for me because more sheep, but it also blocks blue from getting the sheep. So he'll never be able to get to that 3 sheep spot, which is awesome for me. And I still have enough in my hand to buy a dev card. So that was an awesome sequence for me. Road building, settlement, city, excuse me, not city, settlement, and a dev card. So I still have 2 unturned dev cards in my hand. And I have another settlement spot because I don't make brick. So it's great for me that I got that road builder. It's really, really big advantage for me. So now I've got 2, 3, 4, 5 points on the board, and I don't have army yet, and probably I'll never have road, but I'm able to buy a third dev card now. So now I've got 4 played dev cards and 3 unturned. So again, I'm very happy with this sequence, and I got a settlement spot open on that 5 rock desert spot too.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Again, keep in mind that I'm not too disappointed that the 5 is blocked, because when other things roll, like the 10, I make rock, I make sheep. The 8 rolls, I get more wood. I'm okay. I'm still producing a lot of cards. I was able to buy 2 more dev cards on that turn, and a settlement. So I'm still making great progress when everybody else is not nearly as close. So the other reason it was great for me to play the road builder and not a knight right now is because it makes orange feel a little more comfortable not playing a knight if he has a knight right now, because he's still ahead. The road builder was much more valuable for me because it blocks blue from that 3 sheep spot, and it also gives me more sheep and more on the 10 and the 3. And it opens up a spot for another settlement, which would be very difficult for anyone to block. And I can still get army later. So it all worked out for my benefit. And whenever you play games like this, you want to replay it and see, did I make any critical errors? Should I have done this or that instead? And as I watch this and replay it in my head, that I'm really happy with the moves and the sequences. There's always kind of thoughts during the game. Should you have bought a city instead of 2 dev cards, or vice versa, or use the road builder somewhere else, or built a different city, a different spot instead of the one you did. So it's good to kind of replay that constantly in your mind, and try to find opportunities to improve your game. So again, there's a lot of despair at the table, not from me, but the other players kind of wondering what are their moves, what are their options, because again, I'm just every round I'm just getting further and further ahead. Like just look at the dev cards, look at the points. It's just getting more and more concerning for the other three players.
Can you disclose info in depth? I don't think it's wise. So wait just a little.
All right, so he's passing, which is good for me because if he had a knight, I don't want him to play another knight. I don't want to fall further behind with the army. So thankfully, he's happy with where it is on the 5 rock. Another good reason not to play it, because then he's going to move it again. He's happy with where it's at. That's exactly what I want. I don't mind it being there because I still have plenty of cards and I have 3 unturned dev cards.
The 10. 6, 9.
So 2 rolls, which is great for me. I get 2 more wheat. It's exactly what I want. Good roll for me.
We're not even playing, man. We're not even playing. Fast, I have 1 card. We're not even playing, man.
It's great. For me, orange and green both couldn't do anything on their turns. Whereas look what I was able to do. A road builder, a settlement, and 2 dev cards on my turn. It's just too much production. Now a 5 rolls, which is not great for me. The 5 rock is blocked. And green and blue both make 2 wheat each. So that's a good move for them. But it's okay. I'm still pretty far ahead.
No, I mean, if he gets a mono, it's over. I mean, no, he has 2 wheat, I have 2 wheat. If you expend all your...
Say one more or something to help me call.
No, like if he...
I don't know. It's like
I mean, if he gets a mono, is he going to get only 4?
Or just like get 2 weeks from one of you guys.
Sorry?
and do what?
But then you get 2 or in hand.
Why do you need 2 weeks? Why do you need 2 weeks? Why do you need 2 weeks?
I think I still get 3 or so it's just wise to see.
Wait. If you trade, if we give you 1 wheat each,
So notice that they're still
I would have...
somewhat working together to try to collaborate. They're trying to think like who can still try to challenge me for the dev cards. And also, they should be talking about the road too, because that's a little sneak that I can do potentially if I have another road builder or if I have a monopoly. That's something that can happen as well. So right now what Blue's able to do is build another city. So he's got 5 points on the board and he's got an unturned dev card. So he might have 6 points. So a 10 rolls, which is awesome for me. Remember, a 2 just rolled, so I've got wheat and then 2 sheep and another rock. So I'm loving the rolls. And now I play a knight, and I'm going to slow down Blue, try to steal one of the wheat that they rolled, or the rock. Either way, I'm happy. And now I'm tied for army with orange. So if orange doesn't play a knight, then I could potentially take army on my turn, next turn, if I have another knight.
And sometimes that's I need help since I have no room.
So again, I've got a lot of cards in my hand. A 10 rolled, a 5 rolled, a 2 rolled, 8 rolled. So I've got a lot of options. I just played a knight, and I stole a card from blue. So Army is tied, but orange has it right now.
It's very simple.
I buy another development card. And remember, I had that road builder. I created a Y, so another settlement spot. So I went ahead and built that as well. And bought a second dev card. So 2 dev cards and a settlement on my turn, which was huge. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 points on the board, plus 4 on turn dev cards. And I could potentially take Army on my turn if orange doesn't play a knight right now.
You guys want to trade wheat? I have wheat.
Let's buy us that just in case.
Yeah. I have wheat.
Wheat? No wood.
Wheat and brick.
Wood and bricks.
Wheat and brick.
Wheat and brick.
Who doesn't have wheat? No sheep?
So I'm pretty happy right now because it looks like he has not a knight to play, which means I would likely take Army on my turn. And I'm already showing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points on the board. Army would give me 8, and I have 4 on turn cards, so likely have at least 1 victory point there, so I may have 9 points and could potentially win on the next turn. So now he reveals orange that has a Year of Plenty. So they're frustrated with him because he could have played it earlier or in the last turn and bought another dev card. So that he could have bought a knight, so that he could have kept it instead of letting me take it on the next round.
Can you? Yes. So I get 2 sheep, waiting 1 week for 2 what? 3 weeks. Then I get 2 sheep and get 2 days.
So he's buying 2 dev cards, but it's probably too little too late at this point. So he has 3 played knights, I have 3 played knights. If I play a knight on my turn, I take Army. Another 8 is rolled, I get more wood. Blue takes more brick. Now look at, there are a couple pathways for me at this point. So check out the roads. The longest road right now is 2, which is interesting. And I even have 2 roads. So I could potentially go for road. I'm taking over knight. I'm playing a knight and taking Army on my turn, which is going to give me 2 points. So right now I'm showing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the board. And I'll likely take 8 points on my turn because I'll turn a knight, likely. And then I may have a victory point in my hand. And I could still potentially go for road if they don't lock up road right now. So remember I talk about have multiple pathways to victory, and they haven't locked up road, which they need to right now. So they start finally talking about that because they realize it. And green needs help to lock up road. So check out that the timer is also playing right now. So again, a good reason why I want timer at this point, because I don't want them to figure out further things about locking up road or doing something else that may slow me down.
Why cannot you make one road like this? No, you make two.
So they're doing a series of trades in it right now to give roads to green, which is smart. They should do at least that. Now it's only 3 roads long. He makes another one, 4 roads, but they still don't have road. They still don't have road. So I could still potentially even take road. I could do potentially a double play on my turn, which means having longest road and largest army at the same time.
Okay, so 5 seconds.
That's right. It may be game, but if you have like 1% chance to have to play for the 1% chance.
So a 9 rolls, which is great because they collectively have a bunch of wood, but the person they need to get the wood is green, and it just passed green's turn. So it's not going to get back to him before my turn. So they should all be afraid that I could potentially win on my turn, which is a pretty high likelihood given the circumstances right now. Remember, I said from the beginning, my game is development cards, army, defense with knights, some key other cards like Monopoly, road building, victory points, anything that I can get, because those will all be keys for me. And yeah, here towards the end, I've bought 9 development cards, which is great. There's only 25 in the deck, and so that's pretty good. So now 5 rolls. So again, the 5 wheat is blocked. No need to play a knight first. I get 2 more rock. I have a bunch of cards in my hand. So now I'm kind of assessing, can I win on this turn? So I could play a knight that will give me 8 points on the board and with army. And then I would still have unturned dev cards. Now, what I'm calculating is I don't have the win yet, even with the knight. At this point, I get to 9 points, so I still need a 10th point. So I need to steal a card because I can't do army. Excuse me, I can't do a city right now with what I have in my hand. So what I need to do is steal a key card so that I can buy a development card. I need to play. I have a Year of Plenty, but I can't play that because I need to play the knight. I need to take the army right now, otherwise orange extends it. So I've got 8 on the board, I've got 3 unturned. I'm stealing a card from somebody, trying to calculate who has what so that it could potentially be the game winner card for me. And then my play right now is to buy a dev card, and depending on what that is, that could be the end of the game.
Man, come on. Man, come on.
So with what I have in my hand, I could buy a dev card, but I'm still going to steal a card first. So I'm trying to think who has what and who's the threat. I'm going to steal from blue. And either way, I'm buying a dev card. And depending on what that is, this could be the end of the game.
30 seconds.
So I'm going to put on 10 because that's blue's important roll. And I don't really need the 10 rock.
15.
So my timer is going down now. So I'm stealing a card, buying a dev card, seeing what that is. And thankfully, it is a VP. I've got another VP, and it's 10 points, game over. So I'm really ecstatic, I'm happy, I'm excited. Of course, I'm not going to jump up and down out of respect for the other players. They're all really good players, and they did the best they could. and I'm excited. The end game score was me with 10 points, and the next player with 6, and the next 2 players with 4 and 4 points. So 10, 6, 4, 4. So this is the end of the 2026 Catan Americas Championship, and I'm really proud and excited to announce that I won. And you probably already know that by watching this. And this then gets me invitation to come back in 2 years to defend my title, which I intend to do. And also, I already have a ticket to the Worlds because I won the U.S. Nationals in 2025. So that gets me to the 2027 World Championship. So I'll be there next year. I'm excited about that. And then I'll be back for Worlds in 2028. I'll be back to Catan Americas Championship in 2028. So continue to follow me, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and watch my journey as I then go on. I've got 2 championships back to back. So the 2025 U.S. National. I've got now the 2026 Americas Catan Championship, and I'm going for my 3rd championship, which would be Worlds next year in 2027. And then I'll go back to Americas in 2028. So potentially even 4 championships. So follow me and root me on for victory and world domination. Thank you for following.